Ever wonder where the name Satan actually comes from? The answer is much older and stranger than you might think. It's not a story about a fallen angel, at least not at first. It's a story about a word. Let's go back nearly 4,000 years to the Bronze Age. The earliest root of Satan is found in ancient Canaanite languages. It's the Semitic root dtn, spelled shin teth nun. And it wasn't a name at all. It was a job description. It simply meant to oppose, to obstruct, or to accuse. An adversary. If you were a prosecutor in a legal dispute, you were a duckon. It was a functional term, like baker or soldier. Fast forward 1,000 years to the Iron Age. The Aramaic language, a cousin of Canaanite and Hebrew, inherits this root. And guess what? The meaning is exactly the same. DTN is still just a word for an opposer or an accuser. It appears in legal and administrative texts. There's no hint of a cosmic evil being, no ruler of the underworld. It's just a regular word for a very human role. So, for thousands of years, there was no single entity named Satan. There were just Satans, adversaries. The first big shift happens much later, around 50 BCE, in the text we now know as the Dead Sea Scrolls. This is where things get interesting. The root DTN is still there, and the core meaning of adversary remains. But for the first time, we see a conceptual change. The authors of these scrolls started to group adversarial forces together. They began to personify opposition. Instead of just one person being an adversary, they wrote about an entire spirit of opposition, a collective force of accusers. But even here, it's not what later religion claims. There's no single, unified Satan figure. Different scrolls talk about adversarial forces in different ways. There's no fallen angel story, no king of hell. This is the key transition point. The word is evolving from a simple function and adversary into a conceptualized, personified force of opposition. This is a literary development, not an ancient religious doctrine. Now, let's bring in the Greeks. When the Hebrew and Aramaic texts were translated into Greek, something crucial happened. The translators encountered the Aramaic word sakin. They didn't translate it. They transliterated it. That means they just spelled it out using Greek letters, creating the word satanos. Why does this matter? Because Greek already had its own words for adversary or accuser, but they didn't use them. They imported the Semitic term directly. By doing this, they froze the word in place. What was once a job title, a function, started to look like a proper name, a label. This is also where the word devil enters the picture. The Greek word for slanderer or divider is diabolos. Initially, satanos and diabolos were separate terms. One was a transliterated Aramaic word for an adversary, the other was a Greek word for a slanderer. But over time, in later texts, these two ideas merged. The concept of the adversary and the concept of the slanderer collapsed into a single literary figure. And what about Lucifer? This one is a simple translation error. Lucifer is a Latin word meaning light bearer. It was the name for the planet Venus, the morning star. In one poetic passage in the Old Testament, a fallen king's arrogance is compared to the morning star, which shines brightly but vanishes at sunrise. It was a metaphor. It was never a name for Satan. Later readers mistook the poetic description for a proper name, and a myth was born. The final transformation happens in the New Testament writings. Here, for the first time, Satan is consistently treated as a singular, personal entity. The functional role of an adversary is fully transformed into a character with a name. The literary label becomes a fixed identity. This reinterpretation created the figure many people think of today. So, the story of Satan is not one of ancient theology. It's the story of linguistic evolution. A word for a functional role, adversary, was slowly personified in literature, transliterated into a new language where it became a label, and then merged with other concepts to create a character. It's a powerful reminder of how ideas can change, and how later interpretations can be read backward onto history. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey through language and history fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives. See you next time.